Hello. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started. Welcome to yet another session of the Acosphere Insta Live. And today, it is my honor, my pleasure to welcome my very dear sister, Bimpe Nkontchou. Bimpe is a lawyer with a post-qualification experience of over 30 years. I said 30 years, both in Nigeria and in the UK. She is the founder and managing principal at W8 Advisory, which is a wealth advisory practice and a multifamily office focused on African entrepreneurs and their families. Bimpe is also a keen enthusiast and collector of modern contemporary African art, and she views art as an important legacy of the African continent, as well as being a valuable asset class. Bimpe is also on several boards of art organizations, the Pompidou African Art Acquisition Committee in Paris, helping them purchase African contemporary art. She is on the contemporary African art market as a founding member, working, it's a working group for the promotion of African art, contemporary again in Cameroon, and it's an initiative of Galerie MAM. Bimpe is a trustee of the Yinka Shoni Barrick Foundation, which was founded by the very well-known, I should say famous Nigerian British artist, Yinka Shoni Barrick, as well as a trustee director of GAS Foundation in Nigeria. Bimpe has started W8 Advisory after having had a law firm in London for nearly 15 years, I believe.
Yeah, about 15 years, yeah.
And from W8 Advisory, which is the financial side of things, she started as well W8 Wealth, and she is now launching very soon Wealth 8, which is a fantastic initiative for women of African heritage and millennials. Bimpe Nkontchou, what an impressive resume.
Thank you, Nadia.
I welcome you to our Instagram Live. And to start with, I want to thank you for being with us today. My first question is always the same. What makes you an international public speaker? Where do you find the courage to stand there and speak? And why do people listen to you?
Right, I hope people do listen to me. I know I speak. I am talkative, to be honest. I think that's part of my nature. But I think it's also helped because I'm a lawyer. So the training that lawyers go through means that you have to have some amount of advocacy skills, the ability to stand up in court, make a reasoned argument. And if you're not in court, you're in front of your clients or negotiating something on behalf of a client with a third party. So you're always called upon to speak. And that's, I think, part of the training that lawyers go through.
Yes.
So I think that's helped me a lot. But then I guess, like I said, it's part of my nature to be someone who always wants to talk.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And as an international lawyer and a wealth management expert, can you share your story with us?
Well, my story has really been, I would say, a set of my history, really. I call it my history. It's a set of facts. Obviously, born and raised in Nigeria, lived and studied mostly there, secondary school. I came to the UK for A-levels, went back for university, came back to the UK for my master's in law at UCL. and went back thinking that's it. You know, like a lot of African families, having had some amount of education overseas, that's good. It's great exposure, great to make you a rounded human being. Time to go back home and do your bit for your country. But then I met someone who lives and worked in Europe. My husband is from Cameroon. At the time, he was living in Paris and now in London. And obviously, we moved to London. So I really moved to settle down, to get married, and found that I kind of, as one does, you tend to have to follow your husband to wherever it is that his home is. So Paris was home, but luckily we agreed and managed to find a place to make London home for us both professionally. And so we settled in London 25 years ago. And when I moved here, I realized that I had two choices. I could either just join the job market, that is, apply for work as a lawyer, hopefully in a top city law firm. 25 years ago, there weren't many black law firms, or even many black lawyers who had risen, to high positions in law firms. Now, by the time I moved here, I was already quite senior in Nigeria. I had worked in 2 different law firms. I was made partner in 1994 of a law firm, which is still one of the top 5 law firms in Nigeria. And so when I moved here, I didn't see myself as someone who would start from the bottom of the ladder. And so I decided that this inconvenience, so to speak, of living in a new country, luckily a country that I spoke the language of, it wasn't France, and a country where also my training was relevant, I decided, you know what, I'll start my own law firm. I don't think I want to start, all over again. I'm, almost 9-10 years at that time practicing law. So on impulse, kind of, not really thinking I was doing anything brave or courageous, I just took matters into my hands, started the law practice. I also wanted to make sure I could work and as a working mother. And so working for myself gave me the flexibility to raise a family and work on my own terms. So that's the other reason why I decided to set up my own practice. And I found that in London at that time, there weren't many law firms that were really focusing on Africans in the private sector. There were a lot more firms doing, immigration, criminal law, all the things that are important. But when in the African space, not many business law firms. So I felt that I could hopefully bridge the gap between businesses in the UK and businesses on the continent, especially Nigeria. And so I did that, opened the law firm in 1998. I had 2 partners, 2 women, also 2 working mothers. And it grew. I mean, it was pretty successful, in a nice, quiet way, niche practice focused on Africa. And I ran that firm as managing partner till 2014. Yes. So that was, like I said, almost by accident, because of my own personal circumstance. I found myself, setting up and building a law practice. And then, fast forward, so it's not over. So this is like my 3rd career, to be honest, because the law firm in Nigeria was my practicing and working in law firm in Nigeria was my 1st career. Setting up my own law firm in the UK was my 2nd career. Then, for various reasons, we packed it up. We decided, my partner and I thought the environment was not as, I would say, friendly to small law firms anymore in London.
Yeah.
After post the financial crisis of 2008. So 2013, we took a look at ourselves and thought, enough. I wanted to do something different. So we both decided we wound the firm down very nicely. And I realized I was still very connected to some of my clients. I have clients who have kept from the law firm, who have kept me as their advisors from that law firm, because I became quite, I would say, as a trusted advisor to them.
Trusted advisor.
On many areas, both in the legal sense, both to do with their business, building their family business, setting it up, tax planning, issues that concern the next generation, issues that concern how the assets of the family would transfer to the next generation, issues that concern structure of the business, governance. And I found I was already doing so many things for the clients in an informal way that I thought, I'm actually becoming their family office.
Yeah.
Why don't I do it formally and get paid? Because, apart from being their lawyer, I was involved in lots of discussions in an informal way, and I was always happy to help. Yes. So when I wound the law firm down, I thought, actually, Africans need a family office platform where they can have one person who can deliver a whole suite of services that affects their personal affairs. And that's where W8 Advisory was born in 2014. And so it's wealth management and asset management as well. And yeah, that's been my story. And I'm now 5th year of W8 advisory, client base growing, different. I've now worked for some families from one generation to the next, which makes it very, very interesting and very fulfilling.
I think it's important also to add that you are, is it called FDA, right? You're FDA?
FCA, FCA regulated, yes.
Sorry, yes.
Yes, the Financial Conduct Authority. So
yes, FDA.
Exactly. I mean, when we talk about wealth management, I always tell to clients, and people think, oh, wealth means lots of money. Absolutely not. Wealth is money, and that's when I talk. Banking and personal banking is where the management of your money is involved. But your wealth is everything from your intellect. The intellect that you use to develop or grow a business is your wealth. Your family is your wealth, because I think a lot of us forget that most people, the work we do and the reason we get up in the morning is to provide for our family. So we're investing in our family's future, your family, your children are your wealth.
Right.
Your business is your wealth, your property, your home is your wealth. So wealth management really is something that spans across different asset classes, what I call financial and non-financial. So in W8 Advisory, we look after the non-financial assets,
yeah,
estate, family, governance, transition of wealth from one generation to the other. And we then also look after financial assets under a separate but related company that's called W8 Wealth. And that company is FCA regulated, because the work of investing your money, advising you how to manage your money is a regulated activity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I do that in partnership with another asset management firm. I'm not a finance expert, so I have a very robust platform which I share with an asset management firm, and they do all of that important work for clients.
That's quite something, because I mean, knowing you, I know you went through a whole process of, getting trained and taking all the certifications in order to be FCA approved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you share with us some anecdotes, I'd say, about the challenges you faced, both when you started the law firm and now in wealth management? I mean, we all know that these things don't just happen, and you don't just shoot to the summit all of a sudden. So I'm sure you have a few interesting anecdotes to share with us.
True. It's been an interesting journey. I think interesting in the fact that I came to London. I hadn't worked here when I came to settle. And so, you would expect, most people would expect that you'd go and work in a law practice here and then start yours. So I came into this country, and the first thing I did was set up my own law firm, which when I think back now, I think, wow, I was pretty brave to have done that. I think if I'd thought it through, I'd have thought maybe to work for someone else first. But no, I had to learn on the job. Now, one of the things I realized very quickly, I mean, let's face it, this is the UK. We're still a minority, even as a professional, whether black and then woman. So when I set up the law firm, I wasn't going to call it my name. I just thought, typically in Africa, you would use your surname, Nkontchou and Co. or something as a law practice name. So I called it Adi and Co. Adi is my first name. Adi Bimpe is my first name, so the first sort of prefix. And I just wanted to be, I would say, slightly anonymous. Like when people open the yellow pages, or people in those days, what they would do, and they're looking for a lawyer in a particular zone. We were in the West End. We were very much off Piccadilly. So we were, SW1, good address. So often enough, I would have clients walk in, and the Adi is an English sounding name. So they would walk in and say, I'd like to see Mr. Adi. And, I love their reaction when, first of all, the receptionist would go off and fetch me, and they put them in the conference room, and I walk in, and the client would say, yes, but so I guess I'd like a cup of coffee, because they would expect me to be the coffee girl, okay, or assistant, and I sit down, and then they said, well, is Mr. Adi coming? And I then say, well, actually, this is my practice, and so a few of them would be polite enough to just really just keep going. Some of them would be like, oh, like, what am I doing here? Because I didn't expect a black person or a black woman.
Exactly.
But, I would say maybe 10% of the time did anybody get up and walk out. Most times, they're here, They would say what they came to do, and especially because we advertise our specialities. And I found clients who stayed with me for a long time, some English, French, Japanese, because we were in the West End, who would tell me later on that, to be honest, we didn't expect to get any satisfaction. They thought they'd come once and that would be the end. They wouldn't come back. And I think that name, anonymous name, I have to be honest with you, meant that they came in through the door at least.
Yes.
Then they were able to try the service out, and they usually stayed. And I think in today's world where we are still talking about race issues, that's something that I already knew could be an issue, but somehow I never experienced any sort of real form of racism in that space up front. So that's something that always makes me laugh when I remember some of the experiences I had with clients like that.
I can imagine. I can imagine some of those situations. Impressive. So, any other anecdotes about W8?
You know, to be honest with you, being a lawyer is something that I always tell people. The work I do, to be honest, I'm not a corporate lawyer who is just dealing with papers, because you could be that. I mean, when I was in Nigeria, I was in a law firm where we did lots of large transactions. It was lots of just pages and pages of documents. The area I focus in now is, I tell people, it is private wealth, but it's really people's affairs, people's lives. So, and I find that no two families or no two clients are the same. I find I have to be everything from their tryst, because sometimes clients need to tell you some secrets before we can actually give them the solutions, especially in the private family space. You're their tryst, you're their mentor, you're their sister, their friend. And in some cases, you know, I have to almost be their police, because if I advise the client to do something and they don't do it, I have to go after them with a big stick to keep going. So in this space, no size fits all. There's so many different stories. I've had scenarios where clients come to me with a situation, and actually when we peel it off, you know, like almost like a coach, actually then realize the reason why this client is in this particular business situation is either because something isn't right at home, or because, you know, there's an issue that's more on the personal side that needs to be resolved, for that business issue to also be resolved. So, you know, it's an interesting space. When I call the private wealth space, you're really dealing with family affairs, and you have to get to know your clients, get to know their family, and get to know a lot of them, who they are, to be able to give a good service. So that's, so I find I'm a combination coach, lawyer, you know, mentor, sister, friend. I'm their confidant in the end, which is interesting.
So you can never get bored. It's always a new day.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, it's
wow. Wow.
Yeah, and I think thankfully I've been doing this for so many years that I believe when I talk, you know, clients start to think that I have something to say. I think one area I have to say, maybe it may sound like a slight self-compliment, but I know that I look a bit younger than my age. So often when I first meet a client, I often have to start off by telling them how many years I've been practicing law. And, you know, because sometimes I walk in and they've heard of me, and then they see me and think, oh, we thought we was expecting, you know, in African sense, when you're a successful woman, you're then to be nicely round and a bit bigger.
Yes.
You know, costo, as they say. And they walk in and they see me and they think, oh, this little girl. And I have to say, well, actually, that's who I am. And I've been doing this for so many years. And then to try and put them at ease. And hopefully when I start speaking, I think they feel that, okay, she's got something useful to say, useful advice.
Exactly the reason why I insisted on your 30 years of practice earlier. Yes, when I introduced you. Exactly. It was an important one.
I figured. I figured.
Yes. So how did you decide to create W8 Wealth? Because you had the advisory, and then you decided to create W8 Wealth, and now Wealth 8.
Yeah. So all these brands, I mean, I call it the W8 group, to be honest, because in the end, I've just taken a brand and I've tried to build sub-brands around it. So W8 Advisory, like I said, is a non-financial assets, talking about family wealth, especially estate planning, succession, which is so key in Africa and is lacking. So that's an area that I'm very passionate about, helping clients to hold on to their wealth and transfer to the next generation without conflict. That's W8 Advisory's job. W8 Wealth is talking, yes, to the client about their money advising them. And I said structuring assets, managing portfolios. Often the clients have international portfolios with various banks. And myself and my asset management colleagues take over as external asset managers and give advice and help to invest the money. Now, what I then found was that I was very much pitching my service at what I call the high net worth groups, you know, people who have earned millions, who have already arrived, who have established themselves, who are very wealthy. But, you know, when you look at Africa's trajectory right now, we're a young continent. I would say more than half of the continent is below the age of 30. And therein lie the entrepreneurs of the future, or even of today, who are creating wealth. And they're starting younger. You know, in our day, we would work for 5-10 years before we start our own business. These days, straight out of university, most of the youngsters are starting their businesses. And some of them, within 5 years, they're unicorns. The private equity funds come and invest millions in them, and they make money. So I realized that as a wealth advisor, I really didn't want to only be pitching to those who have already made money. I wanted to accompany those who are making it, make sure they don't make some mistakes that I see the older generation have made already. Help them not to make the mistakes, help them to worry about how the money is invested, even the little they made, before they make a lot more. And I found that, again, in the younger generation are very much in digital space. Everything happens on their phones. Everything happens online, especially now with the pandemic. As you can imagine, we are all living our lives online. And so I realized even before the pandemic that one way in which I needed to approach a demography that was really not served in the wealth management space at all, in Africa and elsewhere, not just, but I'm focusing on Africa. That's my leverage. That's who I know. But it's the same issue around the world, that most of the youngsters from age 20 to 35 are not even looked at. They have retail banking, and that's all. Nobody's helping them save. Nobody's talking to them about investing. Nobody's educating them, men and women. But again, technology allows you to do this easily and in a much more accessible and cheaper, affordable way. So basically, I decided to an online platform called Wealth8, which literally I would say it's work in progress. So the website is already live. It's Wealth8, wealth-8.com. Okay. And please, anyone listening, if you're interested, visit the website. You can sign up. We are already sending out weekly newsletters with investment tips and interesting articles. And the idea is that once the actual investment tool is ready, probably by the end of August, it will be a launch on that website. And you'll be able to go online, and the minimum will be about £500 that you could go online and set up an account and start trading and, and actually investing your money.
Wow.
And you'll be doing it using what we call managed funds that have been created by the likes of BlackRock, for example, who are already well known worldwide. But the idea is that that would be your window into starting your own investments in a little way that will grow. And so that's the essence. So the idea with Wealth8 was to bring wealth management to, I would say, wider class of people.
Yes.
In an accessible way, online, in their pocket, and they could walk around and look at their portfolio at any time. And even if they're on the continent, the idea is that even if you're in Nigeria or Ghana or Kenya or Senegal or Ivory Coast, whilst you're investing in stock markets at home or in companies or real estate at home, to diversify, because diversification is important, you should be able to have access to international, foreign markets for investment purposes. So the idea is Wealth8 will give you that access to the global markets, to investing outside of your home country into, a portfolio of assets that you wouldn't normally have at home, but, gives you that diversity of assets and the possibility of making returns abroad as well.
What an amazing initiative, and so needed, particularly by women of African heritage and by the younger generation, of course.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for this initiative. I'm sure, a lot of people will find it extremely useful.
I hope so.
Bimpe, you also seem to have a very healthy interest in the art, and it's a true passion, I know. Can you tell us more about this passion, about the activities that you do in the art sector?
Yes. I've always loved art. I think most of us who grew up on the continent, in Nigeria, Benin, Ghana, all come across African art, and I think we're the first lovers of African art are Africans, which is a good thing. But I think when you live outside your home country, like I have done over the years, you then get a much more of an affinity with your origin. You really want to show the world that where you're from, what you're about, and art is a very good way of explaining the context of your own of your origin. And so so I think the love of art for art has grown and grown and grown. I love art. I'm an enthusiast. I collect. My husband also is a big enthusiast as well. I think the children have absorbed it also. But I'm the kind of person, again, I like not just to look at art, but I like to understand the artist, to look the artist behind the work, get to know them. So in my journey as a lawyer, I've met and befriended, some important artists who have helped me even understand even better what art is saying. So Nkontchou Barrow is one of them. He's someone who I've been befriended with about 10 years in London. And I've gotten very involved with the work he's doing back in Nigeria. He's setting up an artist residency, his own philanthropy. The idea is to give back to artists, up-and-coming artists on the continent, especially Nigeria. So he set up a foundation, and I'm on the board of trustees. The idea is to fundraise and actually build this physical space, but also, again, we'll be doing a lot of residencies in digital space. Apart from that, I find I like to advise artists, because one thing artists lack is that legal advice as to how to structure their wealth, or how to ensure that their copyright is protected, or even making sure the contracts that they have with galleries or with institutions are well done. So in that respect, yes, I find I advise artists, I advise art foundations, and art for me is partly work but partly socials. I love going to art fairs and art auctions and biennales, and a lot of my friendships even have been developed around the art world. So I'm grateful to have that extra, I would say, curricular activity that also blends well with my work.
Thank you. Any final tips on wealth management or art for our audience?
I think you can do both, so art is an asset class. And I say, well, people say, oh, nowadays, African art is attracting, the likes of Christie's and Bonhams. Absolutely. It's something worth investing in. But I always say, make sure you buy what you like.
Yes.
It might appreciate in value. It might not. You won't be too bothered because you love it anyway. And to be honest, true collectors really sell their art. And that's the funny thing. But I think, yes, start to save. And if you save and invest and have a diversified asset class, if you can include art as one of your asset classes, even better.
Bimpe, this was awesome. Time is too short. I could, just go on and on listening to you.
Yes.
But thank you, and thank you. A really heartfelt thank you for, telling us about your story, which is an amazing one, but also all the advice about wealth management. Everyone who's been listening, make sure you go on the platform Wealth8. Sorry, Wealth8. Wealth8.com. Wealth8.com.
Right.
And check this incredible project out, because I am sure it will be useful to you. Before we go, I will announce our next speaker for next week, Ms. Claude Borna from Benin. She is yet another African woman who rocks. She will tell you all about her story and about the great job she's doing right now, helping entrepreneurs in Benin and setting up Seme City, which is a project of a knowledge town, basically, in Benin. So Claude Borna will be interviewed next week by Gilles Acogny. Until then, stay blessed, and we will meet you again, same time, same place next week. And to you, Bimpe, thank you again, and our best wishes of success with your endeavors, and particularly the launch of Wealth8.
Thank you. Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Much love to everyone and see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.